this is Fazal. I'm having around 8 plus years of experience, and I kind of delivered almost 35 plus online sessions. That's just brief about me. Can you brief about yourself before we get started?
Yeah, you know, like my name is Dipanjan. Like basically, I'm having around 10 years of experience, mostly in the in the middleware, like the TIBCO, EDI. Currently, I'm working as a project lead now. So, wanted to know about the SOA stuff. So the reason why I'm taking this demo is like, you know, like currently I'm based in US, not in India right now. So I'm looking for a, you know, like a session which it's online, and if it's self-paced, then that will be great for me. So that's my expectation actually.
Okay. So let's get started. So I believe since you already having knowledge on TIBCO, so you're comfortable with XML, web services, terminologies.
Yeah.
Okay. So as you already heard about SOA, which stands for Service Oriented Architecture. So it's an architecture basically which talks about integrating various web services provided in your functionality in your product. So we have a definition here. So it says it's an IT strategy that organizes discrete functions contained in enterprise applications into interoperable standards-based services to be combined and reused quickly to meet the business requirements. So what does it mean? Let's take if you are trying to build an enterprise level of application, so that would be having a lot of functionalities. For example, you're building an SCM, supply chain management functionality, which is having various products, your order management, your inventory, logistics, planning, procurements, AR, and then each and every product would be having a lot of modules internally. So when you're trying to build this SCM functionality, so he talks about divide your functionality into smallest functionality, okay, a discrete function, and implement that functionality with whatever the technology, utility that you are comfortable with, but publish that functionality as a service, and that service has to be interoperable. It means the service has to be able to exchange the information in between. Let's take in SCM, we came up with 1000 functionalities and we published 1000 services. So all these should be interoperable, and these should follow some standard so that any consumer who wants to use your service, they can make use of that standard to communicate. And we can integrate all these services, all these 1000 services together, depends on our business requirements to complete our SCM functionality. That's what SOA suggests at a high level. So here we introduce something called a standard, right? So we follow a standard called WESTL. Since you are already familiar with TIBCO, I believe you understand what is a WESTL, what are the different details that we'll be keeping when we are publishing any functionality as a service.
Right. I haven't seen I mostly work on the RDE protocol. So not much familiar with this WESTL. So I haven't used the TIBCO in this area as a web service, but I've used TIBCO like building adapters and business logics and all that stuff. So
Okay, no issue. Then let me give you some touch base on this WESTL. So in this slide he is trying to make us understand. He created a functionality in Java which talks about creating a purchase order, and he would like to publish this functionality as a web service. And as we discussed, so your functionality has to be published in your web service that should be placed inside your WESTL document. So we are trying to understand what are the details of your Java functionality when it's published into your web service. So those details will be placed or associated in your WESTL document. So, are you aware of a Java? Some basic functions?
little bit, yeah.
Okay. So you understand what is an operation, right? Operation, input, output.
Yeah.
Okay. So this is a operation naming create purchase order that he written in Java, and he's trying to publish in terms of a web service. This operation details should be placed into something called your port type section. And your operations could be return types or might not be having return types. So in this case it is having some input and output. Similarly, when we place this operation inside my port types, it would be having input and output. And the data for your input and output will give one more terminology called messages, saying this is my input message and the output message. And in Java, we create something called POJO classes, plain old Java objects, which will hold your purchase order information as an objects. Similarly, in terms of your visitor in XML, we make use of something called XSD to create an XML content on top of XSD. And we'll be placing all those details into my type section, whatever your POJO classes available in Java to represent your input output objects. We create them inside your type section. And the binding section talk about how do you communicate. The consumers can communicate with your service. Maybe they can use a SOAP protocol or HTTP binding, things like that. And this service talks about where this service was actually hosted, the endpoint, which host, which port, maybe a dev server or a QA or a production server, where this service was actually hosted. Okay, so that's how a WSDL contains almost all the details required for a consumer to make an integration. So we have even an example here. So whatever we discussed in our earlier slide, so you would be having something called port type, which is having some operation. The name is create purchase order, having both input and output messages, the request message and the response message. These will be once again defined into your message section. Demo purchase order process request message. And in your XML, you treat any question.
Yeah, like how is this WSDL created? Is there a way how you can create the WSDL from once you develop the code, or?
We'll talk about when we go ahead in our regular sessions, right? We'll talk about from the basics, like how to create a simple XML file, a simple XSD, a simple WSDL. So we'll talk about how to do this from the scratch, but here we're just trying to understand at a high level. So any functionality that we are implementing, we don't bother maybe which component that we are using, which utilities. We develop our functionality but publish in terms of a web service as a WSDL. So what WSDL contains, that's what we are trying to understand here. How to create it, we don't bother, we'll do it in our regular sessions. Okay. So like in Java, we are having purchase order.java, which is a plain old Java object which will hold your Java information, purchase order information. Similarly, in your WSDL, in your XML, you create something called XSD, and XSD you will be having something called elements. So do you heard about XSD elements?
XSD, I know that it defines the structure of the XML.
Yeah, exactly.
So elements in the sense, like here I think the elements are, the name is the element, like which has a name pair value.
Correct. So in Java we created purchase order, right? That could be having various attributes like my order ID, ordered unit of measure, amount, quantity, status, order date. These are all the variables that I can put it in my Java class, and I'll give a name called POJO class, plain old Java object, which meant for it is holding some data. Correct? And similarly, we can hold the similar data in XML using some elements, and the variables whatever you created in Java, in XML also we create them inside my XSD as an elements, which would be having your name of the element and the type of the elements as you just mentioned. So what he is talking about, to create the data which is in Java, like in POJO classes, even in your XML, you create something called XSD here, and this XSD would be having those elements, purchase order, and purchase order internally contains your attributes, the similar attributes that is holded by your Java purchase class. In simple terms, it is used to hold your purchase order information in XML. So the client will understand, hey, for this particular functionality to prepare the input, this is the data that I need to send it. Okay. And we even have something called binding section, which talks about what is the different bindings a client can use to communicate with your service. In this case, they are using SOAP binding. And it is having one more thing called service section, which talks about where the service was actually hosted. So this is the endpoint of your service. So on this host and port, the service was hosted. So this way, your web service would be having all the details required to talk to, to communicate. So, and then he'll introduce a terminology called SCA, Service Component Architecture. In the definition, we mentioned there would be n number of functionalities. He says, try to implement those functionalities using the utilities, the technical libraries, features that you are having, but publish them in terms of a web service. So if you are trying to build using S4A, Oracle Server Suite to be specific, you don't need to use your own utilities. Rather than you can make use of the various components provided by your Oracle Server Suite. So let's try to understand what are these components. So this SCA talks about, so it's a component. We don't need to bother about what component it is or which functionality it is trying to implement. Okay. So let's take, I'm trying to implement a functionality called order management, maybe with some component, and the component could be a people component, mediator, rules, human task. We'll talk about these components little later. Okay, each and every component is introduced to implement some specific functionality, specific type of functionality. So I used one of these components to implement my order management functionality. In general, orders comes through my order capturing system. So this component would be exposed as a service, so that any order capturing system can able to talk to your component as a service. And when I'm processing my order, it has to be integrated with various fulfillment systems, like my planning system, inventory, logistics, AR. So I need to talk to all these fulfillment systems as my order is processed. Okay, so to integrate any external application outside my order management application, I'll be making use of something called external reference. So these are all the external references. I'll create planning all those systems as external references here, so that this component can talk to any external system. So whatever the component that you are using in Oracle Server Suite will be having the same behavior. So this is what we call it as a service component architecture. Now let's try to understand what is an S4A. So S4A is basically kind of integration of your SCA components together. So I mentioned in SCM we are having 1000 functionalities. Now he'll talk about implement each and every functionality with some component. Maybe let's take in my SCM or in my order management itself. This is module 1 that I have implemented using component A, and module 2 that I have implemented using component B. And I can integrate these components together, depends on my business requirement. So I can integrate all my 1000 services together, depends on my business requirement to complete my SCM application. Okay, and the best part of your composite application, from here onwards we give a terminology called composite applications for the S4A applications. And your composite application once again wrapped up into a service. So that any consumer can communicate to your composite application as a service. And this guy even once again having something called reference to talk to any external system. We have something called composite.xml. This is an assembly in your composite applications. Do you heard about web.xml?
Pardon?
Do you heard about web.xml when you're implementing simple web applications like servlets?
No.
Okay, so generally web.xml is an assembly where whatever you create, your classes, the security that you would be providing would be available in your assembly file. That would be your web.xml, or in this case it's a composite.xml. Okay, so let's move on. So this is an architecture of your SourceSuite 11g. So did you work on JDeveloper earlier?
No.
Any other IDE?
No.
Which IDE you will use for working on the things that you are currently working?
ID in the sense like for TIBCO and all, like they have their own designer. So we haven't used any editor like this.
Okay, even the TIBCO was built on top of Eclipse, right? If I'm not wrong. So it would be having some Eclipse look and feel.
Maybe I'm not aware of that. I used TIBCO Business First. So Business First, like mostly we use the TIBCO designer.
Oh, okay, no issues. So to implement your composite applications, right? Here we use a JDeveloper as an IDE. They used to implement your composite applications. And there is something called OWSM, Oracle Web Services Manager, which is used to provide security for the application that we'll be creating. And we have Enterprise Manager, which is an application used to configure or administrate or access the composite application that we host on a server. And these SOAP, JMS, FTP, these are all the clients which are used to place a request for the composite applications that we'll be creating. And these are all the components. We can make use of these components to implement our composite application. So let us talk about these at a high level. Let me pick it up. This BPEL, which stands for Business Process Execution Language. So even in your TIBCO you should having a BPEL process, right?
No, like TIBCO, I haven't used the SOA part of TIBCO.
Oh, okay, got you. That's the reason you didn't forward on Vistal. You didn't get a chance. Okay. So BPEL is basically used to implement orchestration functionality. So orchestration in the sense, in my previous slides I might have given an example. So when I received an order from auto capturing, so as part of fulfilling this order, we need to talk to various fulfillment systems. A planning system which will allot the supply, and the inventory system which will actually reserve the items against your customer, and a logistics, maybe a shipping system which will does actual shipments, and then a AR which will does the billing. So we need to integrate these systems one after another, because the planning dates given by your planning system required for your inventory and your shipment systems. So once after I got a response from planning, I need to integrate my inventory. So you need to follow a step-by-step process to integrate this. That's what we call it as a orchestration. So to orchestrate this kind of functionalities, we will generally make use of a BPEL component. So let me move on a mediator. So this is actually introduced to do some routing functionality. So let's take, when I'm integrating my order management with this fulfillment system, maybe one of the shipping system, we integrated with various shipping systems. Maybe let's take, this is an order management application. I'm trying, so in this component, here I'm using a component called mediator when I'm trying to integrate with shipping systems. Let's take, I have a shipping system S1, S2, S3. So I integrated with various shipping systems. Okay, maybe one shipping system in California, one in New York, one in maybe Hyderabad, one in Bangalore. Okay, so the same application I integrated with in various geographical area. So let's take, I receive generally orders from various customers, C1, C2, C3. Whenever I receive an order, maybe from a customer who is in California, so he always wants to have the shipping from the shipping system S1. So whenever I receive a request from customer C1, so I need to route that request to shipping system S1. So first, this component should understand he received a request from C1. So he need to create something called filter criteria. He should filter it. And generally the request that comes to this component would be an order. And this guy will take the response in terms of a shipping request. It's not an order. So we need to transform the order data in terms of a shipping request. So we use something called a transformations. And let's take we receive an order maybe for quantity 0. So there is no point of making a call to a shipping system with a quantity 0. So that way will definitely gives a functional error. So we can even write something called validations. So you can do all these things using a mediator component, but the basic intention of introducing mediator is for routing functionality. So this guy cannot make use of a response given by S1 and can make a call to S2. That comes under orchestration, and to do that job we have an activity called people. So let's move on a business rules. So in our day-to-day life we purchase a lot of things online. So maybe we use Amazon, Best Buy, Flipkart, couple of portals. And if you notice, these portals will provide a lot of discounts. They provide something called festive discounts, sale out discounts, couple of more. And these discounts are available on only some specific time frame. And even when these people are applying the discounts, their application will not brought down. They are still up and running. So if you wanted to provide any business requirements on the fly, you can make use of a component called business rules in Oracle Server Suite. Let's take I receive an order of $10,000. I cannot directly fulfill that order. Maybe I need an approval from an order manager. So for taking the approvals, you can make use of a component called human task. Once my order manager either approves or rejects that order, so we can take the further processing for that order. And even sometimes my order manager wants to track how many orders that he received for a specific item or from a specific customer, maybe hourly basis or daily or weekly. He wants to be notified with automatically generated report to do his planning. Okay, for these requirements we can make use of a component called BAM, Business Activity Monitoring. And we have something called B2B, business to business. This is introduced to have a smooth communication between the trading partners. The trading partners like your suppliers, wholesalers, retailers. So to have a communication between these guys, you'll make use of a B2B. And sometimes, for example, whenever your shipping system has shipped the goods, who are all interested to have a notification, so that guy will provide or publish an event call using complex events processing. So this guy can publish an event on a network called EDN, Event Delivery Network. And who are all interested to receive this event, they can subscribe to this network. Okay. And SOA Infra is an application which comes by default with your installation, SOA Suite installation. And we discussed SOAP, JMS, FTP. These are all the protocols the clients can make a call to your composite applications. So when they make a call, let's take we implemented our composite application, maybe a simple purchase order application or order management using all these components. So when these guys place a request, that request will comes to your SOA Infra, not directly to your composite application. This guy will try to read your application, and as soon as it finds some component, let's take it finds first component as a BPEL. Now to execute this BPEL component, it delegates a call to BPEL engine. So that BPEL engine will going to execute your BPEL component, like your JVM will execute your Java classes. So here you will be having individual engines for individual components to execute at a runtime. So don't bother at a very in detail level. So I just wanted to give you a life cycle, how this component gets executed. So that would be handled by your SOA infra. And we have something called auditing. So in general, in our Java applications, so if you wanted to track how that particular request has processed, maybe we'll write some loggers, log statements. We'll say begin of this method, end of this method, and this is the data that we received as part of the method. If something issue happened, we'll try to review the log files, we'll review what was happened, and accordingly we'll take some action item. But in terms of server, we don't need to worry about all these things. For each and every request comes to your application, it creates something called a database instance ID. So let's take we received maybe 100,000 orders. So we have a privilege to review each and every request. Let's take at any point of time I can go to 90th order and I can review how it has been executed. And if something failed, so we have a privilege to review and recover that order. So this is what we call it as a auditing. And we have one more thing called MDS, metadata services. So in general, so I'm not sure about TIBCO, but if we host our Java applications on a server, those gets hosted on our server's memory. If my server was crashed due to whatever the reason, we completely lost our application. But in terms of composite applications, when we host, they will be hosted on a database rather than on a server's memory. So even though my server was crashed, I can point one more server to the same DB. So I will be still having an access to my application. So that's what we call it as a MDS, metadata services. And MDS is used for a couple of more requirements. Okay, those we'll be talking in detail maybe in our regular sessions. So any questions in this?
No.
Okay, so let's move on. So here are the course objectives. After completing this session, we should be able to understand what is an SOA based application and what is an SCA. And we'll try to understand how to create people components and mediator components, business roles, human task, some events, sensors, signals, pings, some way to create some test suites, some parameters, and enterprise manager, and then how to provide the security for the application that we'll be creating. And we'll be giving some high level overview on even the OSB applications, just to give you a feel how OSB applications looks like and how to communicate SOA applications from the OSB and OSB applications from SOA. Okay, so let me create a simple application in SOA just to give you a high level feel how the composite application will looks like. Give me a minute, I need to start my virtual machine. I can start it.
Okay, I have some questions. Like, is it like mandatory to like have like knowledge about Java in order to work on SOA?
We don't need to have a in detail knowledge of Java, but we need to have any programming knowledge like what is a loop, what is a variable, some basic things. What is a variable, what is a function. So these things at least we should know.
Yeah.
Okay, not in a detail level of information.
Okay, no, actually like you are referring to Java, that's why.
Yeah, I'm referring to Java because if a person already familiar with Java, he should be quickly able to relate whatever we are talking. So that's the reason I'm mentioning.
Okay. And I mean, do you go through this particular spreadsheet in your regular classes, or it's just made for the demo purpose?
We have some documents as well. We even go through them. Okay. So don't worry, we'll be whatever the components that I showed you in the architecture, right? We're trying to do the demo sessions for most of the activities. So can you see my screen?
Yeah.
So these are the currently ongoing batches.
Is this your JDeveloper?
Yeah.
Okay.
So I just wanted to give you a feel here how a composite application will look like, will create it. So I'll try to create some simple hello world application. So I'm not trying to build a huge application here. So I would like to create some component that will take some input from the customer. So it will try to give you some wish message to whatever input comes to that component. That's a simple demo I'm trying to implement here. Okay. So every IDE will follow their own structure for creating the application. So maybe your TIBCO or any NetBeans or Eclipse or a JDeveloper. So in terms of JDeveloper, it creates something called an application and then the project. So this is an application and these are all the projects. So it's not specific to the composite application. Even when I'm trying to create any web application, so it is the same structure. So let's create a new application here. So I'll give a name, maybe the same name I'll give demo SOA app, maybe in some directory structure I'll say. Okay, so I'll try to create an application which is of SOA type.
The application is one functionality or is a combination of functionality?
See, functionality, you can make it as a simple project, simple module. An application is like your SCM or order management. And the order management, let's take, you are trying to implement an order management application. The order management will contain a lot of modules, lot of features. Each and every feature you can put it in terms of a project. Okay? As your order management is an application, and the features, modules you'll create in terms of a project. So here I'm just creating one of the feature which is a hello world. So that I'll create as the project here. So I'll give a name called demo hello world composite. And giving composite as a suffix is a convention, not a mandate. Generally we follow this in the real time. So I'll create one empty composite application. So this is how it looks like. Okay. So these are the components area where you can drag and drop all these components, depends on your business requirement. And this is the export services area. So if anybody wants to consume your components, they can consume through the export services. And if this components wants to talk to any application outside of this composite, they can talk to them using the external references here. Now we are trying to implement some simple application, maybe a hello world. I can drag and drop this Beeple component here. I'll give a name. And giving process as a suffix is once again a convention, not a mandate. And every XML file will be having a namespace. So I'll talk about this namespace. Do you aware of this namespace?
A little bit.
Okay, so we'll talk about in detail, maybe at a regular session. Okay, at a high level, it's very similar to a package, either in Java, either in database. You create packages in processes, right? It's very similar to that. I'll talk about in detail. And we are trying to implement some functionality. So what is that? You need to pass some input to that, right? And that may be having an optional response. So in this case, what is my input, what is an output? By default, it creates some string messages. So let me go ahead with that. If I'm trying to implement some auto management, I'll make use of the auto management EBOs here. So I'll edit this guy. So as soon as we created a Beeple component, in the wizard it's shown input and output, right? So I just wanted to assign some data on my output variable. It's like in your function. So you have an output, so you wanted to assign some data. So in C, Java, generally how do you do? we'll make use of some assign operator equal to, which is used to assign the data between various variables. So here also we are doing the same thing. So I'm having one of the activity called assign. Using this, I'll assign the data. I'll say name. So from the input variable, so by default it's a string message. I would like to assign it on a output. So I can drag and drop here. So I don't just need to assign, rather I want it to append some wish message. So to do that, rather than drag and dropping, I'll make use of something called expression builder. Okay. So here I can make use of all these functions. So let me make use of a string function. I would like to concatenate. So he'll give the description for all the functions that you are trying to make use. So in this function, so I would like to give some wish message, maybe hello, to the input. So the input is this guy. I can click on this insert into expression. So that's what I wanted to do here. So there is a WebLogic server which is running outside of my JDeveloper, and I have created a connection to access that using my JDeveloper here. We'll talk about this later. So I'm trying to host it on that WebLogic server. So I would like to make it as 1.0 revision, this server. So this is the partition, don't bother about this, we'll discuss in detail later.
So you basically deployed this particular application on WebLogic, right?
Yeah, that's true.
And what do you mean by these external references, like, I mean, any other server or something like that, or?
These?
Yeah.
Yeah, in my demo, in the slides I talked about, right? So let's take, this is doing some functionality, maybe an order management. So when you received an order through this expose service by your order capturing guy, when it is processing, it needs to talk to various fulfillment systems like your planning, inventory, right? So those are all the external applications which are not existent inside this. So to call my planning guy, I'll try to create a reference here. And for inventory, everything I'll create them as a references, and I'll integrate with these references from a Bipel component. So how to do that? Maybe in the next coming sessions we'll talk about them in detail.
Okay, so how, okay, so like now you created this code, so the visual is got created automatically, or?
Yeah. So here the best part is we don't need to write a lot of code. When I drag and drop this guy, so this is having a checkbox. Expose as a service. So let's take, even I forgot them. So I just need to drag and drop this guy here. So it will create a reference, a service here.
Okay.
It's
So
that
it's
easy.
already there. It's already
Yeah.
there, so you don't have to pull it.
Yeah.
And
So actually,
the thing is like, now when you deploy this on a WebLogic server, so the application is now residing on a WebLogic server, right? So anybody who wants to access this particular service will be accessing it through HTTP or SOAP protocol, right?
correct. In this case, they'll access using SOAP because we have given a SOAP binding.
Okay. So SOAP means like, will it be accessible from the internet or no?
See, you just need to have this service available in your network.
No, SOAP protocol means like it will not be accessible over the internet, right? I mean, from external world, it will only be internal, right?
See, the message would be, SOAP is nothing but it's, which is used to hold your message, okay, on top of your HTTP. Okay, HTTP is used to transfer a request but SOAP is used to carry the data.
Okay.
Okay, so let's take maybe a google.com, which is an application. We are sending a request, www.google.com. So we are sending a HTTP request. Okay, HTTP request to the Google application.
Right.
But internally, when it's trying to execute, the message would be in the various modules how it has been executed. So the data might have passed maybe a SOAP message if those guys publish in terms of a web service. Or there is one more communication like a REST communication. Okay, so your session data would be transferred as a REST data, representational state transfer. Did I answer your question?
Well, I mean, what I understand is like SOAP, like I'm not getting a good idea about this SOAP.
So internally, when you are trying to communicate between two services, right? So outside your internet, you will send a HTTP data. But internet, when service 1 is trying to call to service 2, so they will communicate the data in terms of a SOAP message.
Okay, what is
the service? It's a simple object message protocol. Simple object access protocol. So which would be having, I'll show you here. Now we need to send a SOAP data to this guy. Okay, I just hosted this application in my WebLogic server in a partition. I'll talk about this partition a little later. Let me test this guy. So this is a web service for.
This is your WebLogic?
Yeah, this is my WebLogic and I'm logged into my Enterprise Manager. It's an application. Okay, so since we published this WSDL, so I can access this WSDL and I can make use of any web service client to test this guy. Okay, so I can make use of a SOAP UI, any web service client. So this is having your bindings and then service, all the details required. So I can test this guy maybe through the browser this way. Okay, so this is some security if you wanted to provide. Okay, and this is accepting some simple string message. So let me pass something called SOA for example. So if we look at the XML code, so this is how it's getting created. So this is internally trying to create a SOAP message which is trying to pass it on my service. It is having a SOAP. SOAP is generally having a header section, a body section, and if you have attachments, an attachment section. So header would be having like your user details, whatever you pass it on a header. So this is my header. So in the header I'm passing my user details, and in general you'll pass your actual message in your body section. And this I'm trying to make a call to a web service in this port type, and this is the operation. So I'll say invoke. So this is failing because the web service that you exposed is not secured, but even you are trying to pass the details, that's not required. Okay, so I'll take out this detail. Okay, I just wanted to show you because the SOAP message, how it contains both your header and the body. So let me send the message directly because the service is not secure. So I'll talk about how to provide the security on your services little later. So even from EM as well, the Enterprise Manager as well, we can test that. So I mentioned as soon as we get a request, there is an instance ID gets created for every request, and this is the instance ID, and we can see how it has been executed. Okay. So my order management would be having 20 composite applications. So the order would be executing all these 20 composite applications. And I could see all those here, how it has been executed in the runtime. And even I can review how a specific component has executed as well. So in this case, this is the data that was came to this component, and he assigned with some hello string, and this is what he responded back. Okay, you can see in either a flow diagram as well. So this is what I call it as a auditing. Okay, so if this guy was failed, we should be able to recover these orders. Okay, so this is how we can work on the various components, and we'll try to talk about in detail what are the various activities available in different components, your people, mediator, a couple of others, whatever we discussed. And this is a 30,
Yeah.
this is a 30-hour session, and we'll be taking 1 hour each day, so we'll be completing in 30 hours.
Okay. Each day 1 hour, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it includes weekdays and weekends, right? Both.
Generally, we don't take on weekends unless if people wants to complete early.
Okay. So weekdays means 5 hours means around 6 weeks, right?
Yeah, that's true.
Okay. So, like, tell me one thing, like, how, like, you will be teaching the theory part and everything, and you'll be going through this demo, like workarounds, like you'll work around through your system. So how to be like, elasticity or something like, so you'll be helping us through the installation of the components, or
Yeah.
how we
So we will be making sure to get this installed on your machine. So you need to have 8 GB RAM. So I'll talk about how to do the installation.
Okay. So you'll help us to get this installed, right?
Yeah, that's true.
Okay. And so whatever, and then like you will be giving any practice lessons or something like that, or
So this is how in general I go through debunking. So we generally try to understand what are the various components and their internal activities available. So in meanwhile, I'll try to give you some case studies.
Okay.
Okay. So if we showed you maybe one or the thing, you should be able to understand. So this is how we'll touch base on most of these activities, components. We'll do the demo sessions for each and everything. And maybe for every 5 sessions, I'll try to ship whatever we created, and then you can even look at them, review them. You can even extend those applications further, depends on your ideas. And then we'll do the recordings for every session here. So you should be able to review the recordings, and you should be able to implement by your own. And in addition to that, some once we completed some comfortable state, some particular comfortable components, I'll try to give you one case study on top of that, including those components, so you should be able to implement those case studies. And at the end of these sessions, once you're having the questions, you're not able to implement some case study, so I'll try to help you out. Okay?
Okay.
This is how we'll try to create
So you also have recordings, right? You also have the recordings of
I'll give you the recording privilege so that you can record.
Oh, okay. Okay. So, okay, that's fine. And so, okay, so you will help us to install, that is fine. And Okay, and tell me one thing, like, see, I mean, the kind of students or who would take within the batch, see, I consider myself to be as a novice in this particular field in SOA, so I'll consider I know nothing about it. So from that point of, from that point, like I would, there's a lot of tasks are totally new to me. So,
Yeah, got you. So we'll start from XML. So we'll try to go through the brief, what is an XML, what is an XST, and then how to create Vista, and then onwards we'll pitch on the components, different components, and so on.
okay. So 30 days, that's fine. Tell me what will, it will be, let's say, the kind of, the course topics that you are including in your session. So, is it, good enough to clear any Oracle certification?
If you're going for, there are two certifications, one is for the developer, one is for administrator. So for the developer, if you go to the OTM, right, you can look at the course content, what they are expecting as part of the certification. I should mention, this will cover 80% of that course, the certification course.
Okay, the 478, right?
There will be some number for your certification, so it will cover 80% of that course, and remaining, if you're having any questions when you're preparing, right, so you should get back to me if you're having any questions. If I'm aware of, I should be able to help you out.
Okay.
Any other questions, Deepankan, because I need to jump on another session.
Yeah, last thing is what will be the cost of this particular
The cost and timings, once you decide it, right, once you're comfortable, you can discuss with Subhash for further details. He will be able to guide you with all relevant information.
Okay, okay. Okay, thank you. You can, take on that session. Okay. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks Deepankan. Inshallah. Bye.
Bye.
Yeah, so